She's not thinking straight. She hasn't been right since the wedding. Once Voss signs the papers, we file before she even knows what happened. That was my mother's voice. She was sitting in my father's kitchen, 3 days after my husband's funeral, planning how to take everything he left me. $8.5 million, 6 Manhattan lofts, my entire future, carved up on a Wednesday evening between my parents and my sister like it was already theirs. But here's the thing my family didn't know. Nathan had warned me. Not in some dramatic deathbed confession. Quietly, carefully. The way he did everything. And what I did next cost my father his freedom, my sister her fiancé, and my mother every ounce of respect she'd spent 60 years building in that town. Before I go on, please take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if you genuinely connect with this story. Drop your location and local time in the comments. I love knowing where you're listening from. My name is Faye Terrell. I'm 31 years old. I'm a museum manager in Manhattan, and 2 weeks ago, I buried the only person who ever truly saw me. Now let me take you back to the beginning, the morning of Nathan's funeral, when I stood alone in a half-empty church and realized my family wasn't coming. The morning is cold for September. St. Andrew's Chapel on 9th Avenue seats 200. 14 people show up. I count them because there's nothing else to do while the organist plays a hymn Nathan never would have picked. 14. 3 of his college roommates. His boss from the architecture firm. 6 colleagues from my museum who carpooled from Chelsea. The florist, who stays because she knew Nathan from the Saturday market. A neighbor from our building. And James Whitfield, Nathan's attorney, sitting in the back row in a dark suit, hands folded, watching everything. My mother's chair is empty. My father's chair is empty. Chloe's chair is empty. I called all 3 of them. I called Patricia Hobbs, my mother, at 6 a.m. the day Nathan collapsed. She picked up on the 4th ring and said, "Oh, Faye, that's terrible." Like I'd told her the car needed a new alternator. Then she said, "We'll talk when you come home. Chloe has a fitting for her engagement dress this weekend, so it's been hectic." My husband was dead. My sister had a dress fitting. I stand at the front of the chapel now and try to say something about Nathan. About the way he folded his drafting paper into tiny cranes when he was thinking. About the 6 years we spent together, and how every single one of them was better than the 25 I lived before him. My voice cracks twice. Nobody from my family is here to notice. Afterward, James Whitfield finds me on the chapel steps. He shakes my hand, firm, steady. "Nathan loved you," he says. "He made sure of that." Then, "Come see me Monday, Faye. It's important." I don't understand the weight of those words yet. I will. 2 days later, I drive to Ridgewood. It's a 2.5-hour drive from our Chelsea loft. Nathan's loft, I keep correcting myself. Through the suburban sprawl and into the kind of small-town New York that tourists forget exists. Population 8,000. 1 grocery store, 1 diner, 1 church that runs everything. I pass the wooden sign at the edge of town. Ridgewood Community Church. Gerald Hobbs, Honorary Treasurer. My father's name in gold letters. He's been treasurer for 12 years. In Ridgewood, that's practically a political office. The house looks the same. White siding, green shutters, the porch swing. Patricia repaints every spring. I grew up here. I learned to read here. I also learned that some families have a favorite child, and it isn't always a secret. Chloe had asthma as a kid, mild, managed with an inhaler by age 10. But Patricia never updated the narrative. Chloe was delicate. Chloe needed extra support. Chloe got the bigger bedroom, the later curfew, the car at 16. I got a library card, and the understanding that I could take care of myself. I did take care of myself. Scholarships, Columbia, a career I built from nothing. Nathan. And now Nathan is gone, and I'm driving back to the house I couldn't wait to leave, carrying a copy of his will in my bag. $8.5 million, and 6 Manhattan properties. I haven't told anyone yet. I actually think, that maybe this will be the thing that makes my mother finally look at me and say, "I'm proud of you, Faye." I park in the driveway. The kitchen window is open, and I hear voices. I freeze on the porch steps. My mother's voice comes through the window screen, sharp and organized, like she's reviewing a grocery list. Voss said if we get her here for 72 hours, he can do the evaluation. She just lost her husband. No judge is going to question it. My father. And the money? Chloe becomes guardian. We manage the accounts. Simple. Then Chloe's voice, on speakerphone, tinny and eager. Tell Dad to make sure she doesn't talk to that lawyer. Nathan's lawyer gave me a weird vibe at the wedding. The wedding. 3 years ago. Chloe noticed James Whitfield 3 years ago and filed it away. I stand perfectly still. The porch light is off. A moth taps against the screen. Inside, my family is discussing how to have me declared mentally incompetent so they can seize control of my dead husband's estate. Patricia again. She'll cry for a week and then sign whatever we put in front of her. She always does what she's told. My hands are shaking. My chest feels like someone is sitting on it. I reach into my coat pocket and pull out my phone. New York is a one-party consent state. I learned that in a compliance seminar at the museum 2 years ago. It means I can legally record any conversation I'm part of. Or, in this case, any conversation happening 3 feet from where I'm standing on a public porch with an open window. I tap record. The red dot glows. My mother keeps talking. My father keeps agreeing. My sister keeps planning a future that depends entirely on me being broken. I have the recording. I just don't know what to do with it yet. I stop the recording, pocket my phone, and ring the doorbell like I just arrived. Patricia opens the door. Her face shifts, from calculation to warmth, in under a second. She pulls me into a hug. Lavender perfume, the same brand she's worn my whole life. My poor baby, she says. We're here for you now. The word now hits different when you've just heard someone plotting to strip your legal rights. Gerald stands behind her in the hallway, hands in his pockets. He nods. You should stay a few days, Faye. Rest. There's no rush to go back to the city. No rush, because they need 72 hours. I smile. I say, thanks, Dad. I think I just need to be home for a while. I watch his shoulders relax. Patricia squeezes my arm and guides me toward the kitchen. There's tea on the counter, a plate of cookies from the church bake sale. Everything looks like love. Everything sounds like love. I excuse myself to my old bedroom upstairs. Same twin bed, same faded quilt, same Columbia graduation photo tacked to the wall with a single pushpin. Down the hallway, both walls are covered in Chloe's pictures. Prom, cheerleading, sorority formal, engagement party. 47 framed moments. My graduation photo is 4 inches by 6 inches, and the pushpin is rusting. I lock the door. Call James Whitfield. Voicemail. James, it's Faye Terrell. I need to see you Monday. It's urgent. Please call me back. I sit on the edge of the bed and play the recording through my earbuds. Every word is clear. My mother's voice, my father's voice, my sister's voice. All 3 of them, calm and methodical, planning to erase me. I don't sleep. The next morning, there's a man in the living room I've never met. Patricia introduces him over coffee. This is Dr. Voss. He's an old friend of your father's from college. I thought it might help to have someone to talk to, sweetheart. After everything. Dr. Raymond Voss is 64. Silver hair, wire-rimmed glasses, the kind of cardigan that's supposed to make you feel safe. He shakes my hand and smiles like we're at a dinner party. I'm sorry for your loss, Faye, he says. Your parents are worried about you. We sit in the den. Patricia stays, positioned on the love seat like a chaperone. Voss opens a leather notebook. Do you find it hard to make decisions right now? No. Do you sometimes hear Nathan's voice, even when you know he's gone? No. Have you had thoughts of harming yourself? No. Each question is designed to build a case. I recognize the pattern because I spent 3 days reading about involuntary guardianship proceedings on my phone at 2 in the morning. Voss isn't checking on me. He's constructing a diagnosis. Sometimes grief can make us feel like we're not capable of handling our own affairs, he says gently. That's perfectly normal. Patricia leans forward. She's been like this since Nathan died. Shut down. Not herself. I answer every question clearly, calmly, and without emotion. I give Voss nothing. After 20 minutes, I excuse myself to get water. I walk to the back porch, close the screen door, and call James. This time he answers. Don't leave that house yet, he says. I need to tell you something Nathan set up. Can you come to my office tomorrow morning? My pulse picks up for the first time in days, and it's not from fear. I tell Patricia I'm going for a drive. Nathan used to take me driving when I was sad, I say, and she buys it without blinking. She even pats my shoulder on the way out. James Whitfield's office is in Glendale, one town over. Small building, second floor, no receptionist. He's waiting at the door. Inside, he slides a folder across the desk. Nathan's will. I already know the headlines. $8.5 million in liquid assets. 6 loft apartments in Manhattan, 3 in Chelsea, 2 in Tribeca, 1 in the Lower East Side. All of it mine. But James isn't done. He hands me a sealed envelope. Nathan's handwriting on the front. For Faye. I open it. The letter is dated 2 years ago. Faye, I know your family. I've watched how they treat you. Not the big cruelties, the small ones, the ones you explain away. If something happens to me, James will protect you. Don't trust anyone who wasn't at my funeral. My vision blurs. I press my palm flat on the desk and breathe. James explains what Nathan built, an irrevocable trust. Every asset, the cash, the properties, held inside a legal structure that cannot be transferred through guardianship. Even if a court declared me incapacitated tomorrow, the trust stays intact. James is the trustee. The money doesn't move without his signature and mine together. Nathan came to me 3 years ago, James says, right after your wedding. He said, her family will come for this if I die. Build something they can't touch. I sit in that small office and cry for the first time since Nathan's funeral. I cry because my husband knew me better than I knew myself, and he loved me enough to plan for the worst. James pours me water from a pitcher on his desk and lets me collect myself. Then he opens a second folder. There's something else, he says. Nathan suspected your father had financial problems. Gerald asked Nathan for money 4 separate times during your marriage. Nathan documented every request. He shows me the notes. 4 emails from Gerald, each more desperate than the last. $20,000 for home repairs. $15,000 for Chloe's car. Nathan declined every time and kept the receipts. That's not proof of anything, I say. No, but if Gerald is the treasurer of a non-profit, his tax filings are public record. James picks up the phone and dials. Maggie, I have someone I'd like you to meet. Margaret Kessler, Maggie, is a forensic accountant. She works fraud cases for non-profits across the state. She's 45, direct, no nonsense. James puts her on speaker. Give me 10 days, Maggie says. I'll pull the 990 forms and compare them with whatever financial disclosures the church has on file. If there's a discrepancy, I'll find it. 10 days. The church gala, the annual fundraiser where Gerald delivers the treasurer's report, is in 12. I drive back to Ridgewood with a plan I didn't have this morning. Stay in the house. Act grief-stricken. Let Patricia and Gerald believe I'm falling apart. Give Maggie time. Give James time. Don't let anyone take my phone. Patricia is in the kitchen when I walk in. Where did you go, honey? For a drive, I say. Nathan used to take me on drives when I was upset. She smiles, satisfied, almost tender. Her obedient daughter, still broken, still manageable. I go upstairs. I lock the door. And I stop hoping my mother will change. I start planning for who she actually is. The next morning, my car keys are gone. I find Patricia at the kitchen table, reading the Ridgewood Gazette, coffee in hand. "I moved your keys to the drawer," she says without looking up. "You shouldn't be driving right now, Faye, not in this state." "I'm fine to drive, Mom." "You're grieving. Let your father take you wherever you need to go." She turns a page. Conversation over. By noon, Gerald has scheduled a second appointment with Dr. Voss. At the house tomorrow, no discussion. "He just wants to follow up," Gerald says at lunch, chewing a sandwich. "Standard stuff." At 2 o'clock, Chloe calls on FaceTime. She's at a bridal boutique, veils draped over every surface. "Hey, so Mom says you should sign a power of attorney while you're home, so we can help manage things while you grieve." She holds up a veil. "What do you think of this one?" "I'm not signing a power of attorney, Chloe." "God, don't be difficult. It's what families do." "Just sign it, Faye. It's not like you have anyone else to help you." She hangs up before I can respond. That evening, I try to check my email on the laptop in the den. The Wi-Fi password has been changed. Gerald shrugs when I ask. "Must have reset during the storm last week. I'll look into it." There was no storm last week. I checked. I go to the bathroom, lock the door, and text James on cellular data. "They're accelerating. Patricia took my car keys. Changed the Wi-Fi. Voss is coming back tomorrow. How much time does Maggie need?" James responds in under a minute. "She needs 8 more days. Hold your ground." 8 days. I can do 8 days. The phone rings at 9 that night. Unknown number, 845 area code. I almost don't answer. "Faye, it's your Aunt Helen." I haven't heard Helen Briggs' voice in 8 years. Patricia's older sister, cut off completely after a fight I was never given details about. Growing up, Helen was the aunt who sent birthday cards with $20 bills and handwritten notes. Then one Christmas, she just stopped existing. Patricia said Helen was toxic and jealous, and that was the end of it. "I saw the obituary on Facebook," Helen says. "Nathan, I'm so sorry, sweetheart." "Thank you." I keep my voice low. Patricia is downstairs watching television. "Listen to me carefully," Helen says. "I know what your mother is. She did the same thing to our mother before she died." I sit on the edge of the bed. "What do you mean?" Helen tells me. 8 years ago, their mother, my grandmother, Dorothy, was diagnosed with mild cognitive decline. Patricia immediately petitioned for guardianship, not to care for Dorothy, to sell her house and control her savings. Helen found out, hired an attorney, and blocked the petition. Dorothy recovered enough to live independently for 3 more years. Patricia never spoke to Helen again. "She tried to control Mom's money using a medical excuse," Helen says. "And she's doing it to you now. I can feel it." I close my eyes. The pattern is so clear it's almost elegant. Same playbook, same target. A woman in the family who's vulnerable and alone. "If you need a witness," Helen says, "I'm here. I will not let her do this to you." When I hang up, I have 3 allies: James, Maggie, and now Helen, the aunt my mother tried to erase because she told the truth. Voss arrives at 10 the next morning with a leather briefcase and a printed form. This time, Patricia doesn't pretend it's casual. She sits at the dining room table beside me, not across from me, beside me, like a mother at a school conference. Gerald stands near the window, arms crossed. Voss slides the form across the table. "I think it would be best for you to have family support in managing your affairs," he says. "Temporary, of course, just until you're feeling stronger." I read the document, every word. It takes me 4 minutes. Nobody speaks. It's a petition for temporary financial guardianship. If I sign, my sister, Chloe Marie Hobbs, gains legal authority over all my financial decisions, bank accounts, property, investments, everything Nathan left me, managed by a 27-year-old who can't hold a job for 6 months. I set the form down. "I'd like my own attorney to review this first." Patricia's hand lands on my forearm. "You don't need a lawyer, Faye. This is family." "I appreciate that, but I'm not signing anything today." The room goes cold. Gerald uncrosses his arms. Voss clicks his pen. Patricia's fingers tighten on my arm, just enough that I feel the pressure. "Sweetheart," she says, "we're trying to protect you." Protecting me and controlling me are not the same thing, Mom. I stand up, take the form, and walk to my room. Behind me, I hear Patricia's voice, low and hard. "Fine, we'll go to court." I close the door, fold the form, and slide it into my suitcase. Another piece of evidence. Another 48 hours survived. Maggie needs 6 more days. The gala is in 8. I just have to keep breathing. Chloe drives up from the city on Saturday. She brings Ryan. Ryan Alcott is 29, a software engineer, from a normal family in New Jersey. He shakes my hand at the front door and says, "I'm really sorry about Nathan, Faye. He was a good guy." He means it. I can tell because his eyes don't slide away when he says it. Patricia makes lunch. It's almost domestic, almost convincing. Gerald carves a roast. Chloe talks about centerpieces. Ryan asks me about the museum. Then Ryan steps outside to take a work call and the mask drops. Chloe leans across the kitchen island. "Look," she says, "just cooperate. Mom's doing this for all of us." All of us. "Do you know how much my wedding costs? I can't keep putting it on credit cards." "How much are you in debt, Chloe?" She waves a hand. "That's not the point. The point is, Ryan doesn't know about the debt." She lowers her voice. "And he definitely doesn't need to know about any of this. So just sign the papers and everything goes back to normal." Normal? Don't be selfish, Faye. You don't even need that money. She picks up her wineglass. "Nathan's dead. What are you going to spend it on?" I set down my fork. I look at my sister, 27, polished nails, borrowed confidence, a fiancé in the backyard who has no idea he's engaged to a stranger. "Nathan's dead," I repeat. "You're right. And I'm going to spend his money on whatever I decide. Because it's mine." Through the window, Ryan is laughing into his phone. Kind, open, clueless. He deserves to know who he's marrying. He just doesn't know it yet. I want to pause here for a second. My own sister just told me I didn't need my dead husband's money because he's gone. Reduced everything Nathan built, everything we built together, to a line item on her wedding budget. If you've ever had someone turn the worst moment of your life into their personal ATM, then you know exactly what I felt standing in that kitchen. If this story is hitting close to home, hit that subscribe button. Not for me. For the version of you that needed someone to say, "Your grief is not their opportunity." Now let me tell you what happened next, because Maggie finally called. I find my car keys in the junk drawer where Patricia hid them. I tell Gerald I'm going to the pharmacy. He barely looks up from his crossword. I park behind the Glendale Public Library and call Maggie. "I've got something," she says. No preamble, no small talk. The church's Form 990 filings for the last 3 years show total incoming donations of approximately $180,000, but the internal financial reports Gerald submitted to the church board only account for $133,000 in expenditures and balances. That's a $47,000 gap. $47,200, spread across 47 individual transactions over 36 months, each one between $500 and $2,000. Small enough to avoid automatic flags, all routed to a personal account that matches your father's banking information. Classic skimming. I remember Nathan's emails, Gerald asking for money, each time more desperate. The timeline fits. Gerald was already in the hole when he started asking my husband for bailouts. "How much more time do you need?" I ask. 5 days for the full certified report. The church gala is in 8 days. "Can we present the findings at the gala?" Maggie pauses. "If the church board agrees, yes. But you'd need the pastor on your side." I call James next. He's already 1 step ahead. "Reverend Harris is a straight arrow," he says. "If I show him preliminary numbers, he'll want the truth. Give me 24 hours. I drive back to Ridgewood with the windows down. The air smells like cut grass and wood smoke. My father is in that house right now, planning to steal my freedom. He's been stealing from his church for 3 years. In 8 days, both things end. I go for a walk the next afternoon, fresh air, clear head. I make it half a block before Mrs. Carroll intercepts me. She's 70, white perm, church choir soprano, and Ridgewood's most reliable conduit of gossip. "Oh, Faye," she clasps my hands. "Your mother told me you've been having such a hard time. She said you won't eat, won't sleep. She's so worried about you." I ate a full plate of pasta last night. I slept 6 hours. Patricia watched me do both. "I'm doing okay, Mrs. Carroll. Thank you." "Well, if you need anything, your mother is a saint, you know. Truly." 2 blocks later, Mr. Dalton stops me outside the hardware store. Same script, different mouth. "Pat mentioned you might need someone to check in on you. She's been worried sick." Patricia isn't just running a legal scheme. She's running a public relations campaign. Every conversation, every concerned whisper over the fence, every casserole delivered with a sorrowful headshake, she's building a wall of witnesses. If this goes to court, the judge won't just hear from Dr. Voss. He'll hear from neighbors, church friends, the entire social fabric of Ridgewood, all of them primed with the same message. Poor Faye. She's always been fragile. Losing Nathan pushed her over the edge. I call Helen from the back porch that night. "She's poisoning the well," I say. "She did the exact same thing with Mom," Helen says. "Told everyone in town that Mom was confused and wandering months before she filed for guardianship. By the time I showed up with a lawyer, half the neighborhood was ready to testify against our own mother." Small town, same playbook, different decade. "How did you stop it?" I ask. I didn't wait for permission to tell the truth. Dinner. Pot roast, mashed potatoes, string beans from Gerald's garden. Patricia lights a candle. It could be Thanksgiving if you didn't know better. Gerald sets down his fork. "Faye, we need to talk about the future." Here it comes. Nathan was a generous man, but he didn't understand how families work. There are responsibilities. The house needs a new roof. Your mother deserves a comfortable retirement. Chloe's wedding. Nathan left very specific instructions in his will. Gerald's face reddens. "A will can be contested." Under the table, Patricia's hand moves to Gerald's knee. A squeeze, a warning. He takes a breath. "All I'm saying is, there are costs, real costs. And family takes care of family." I set my napkin beside my plate. "What exactly has Mom done for me, Dad?" Silence. The candle flickers. Patricia stands. Both palms hit the table. The plates rattle. "After everything we sacrificed for you, the roof over your head, the food on this table, you didn't come to my husband's funeral." The sentence lands like a slap. Gerald stares at his potatoes. Patricia's mouth opens, closes. "I buried Nathan in front of 14 strangers," I say. "And the 3 of you were here, in this kitchen, talking to a psychiatrist about how to take my money." I push my chair back. I need some air. I walk outside. The screen door clicks shut behind me. In my coat pocket, my phone is still recording. Through the window, I hear Gerald's voice, thin and strained. "She knows. Pat, she knows. And Patricia. She doesn't know anything. She's guessing. She's wrong. I'm not guessing. I'm documenting. 5 more days until the gala." The email arrives at 11:14 on a Tuesday night. I'm lying in bed, scrolling through nothing, when my phone buzzes. From Chloe Hobbs. Subject, timeline. It takes me 3 seconds to realize this wasn't meant for me. Chloe was forwarding an email to Patricia. Our names sit next to each other in her contacts. Faye, then family group, then Mom. She hit the wrong one. The email reads, "Mom, when is Voss sending the paperwork to the court? Ryan is asking about wedding deposits and I need to lock in the venue this month. Here's the updated budget, attached. Everything marked F accounts is what we'll pull once the guardianship goes through. Don't tell Ryan." The attachment is a spreadsheet. I open it. Florist, $4,200. F accounts. Venue deposit, $12,000. F accounts. Photographer, $3,800. F accounts. Dress, final fitting, $6,500, F accounts. Catering, $18,000, F accounts. Total wedding budget, $48,300. Sources, F accounts, F accounts, phase accounts. My dead husband's money, allocated line by line to my sister's wedding, and she hasn't even gotten the guardianship yet. I screenshot everything, the email, the attachment, the timestamp. I send it all to James with one line. Chloe sent this to me by accident. Premeditation and financial motive. James replies at midnight. This is gold. Combined with your recordings and the audit, we have a very strong case. Don't let her know. I go back to Chloe's email and delete it from my inbox. Then I delete it from the trash folder. If she checks her sent messages, she won't see a bounce back. She won't know. $48,000. My sister planned her entire wedding on money she hadn't stolen yet. 4 more days. Helen checks into the Glendale Motor Lodge on Wednesday afternoon, 6 miles from Ridgewood, close enough to matter, far enough to stay invisible. We meet at a coffee shop on Route 9. Helen is 62, taller than Patricia, broader shoulders, the kind of face that doesn't bother with makeup. She's wearing a corduroy jacket and carrying a manila folder. 8 years of silence, she says, and your mother still hasn't changed her act. The folder contains copies of everything from the guardianship battle over their mother, Dorothy. A petition Patricia filed claiming Dorothy was a danger to herself. Letters from Patricia's attorney demanding control of the house, and Helen's counterfiling. A doctor's report confirming Dorothy was cognitively sound enough to live independently. She tried it with our mother, Faye. Same doctor trick, same isolation, same story to the neighbors. Poor Dorothy, she's confused, she wanders, she needs help. Helen taps the folder. I stopped her then. You're stopping her now. I stare at the documents. The same language, the same strategy, separated by 8 years and 1 generation. Patricia didn't invent a new plan for me. She dusted off the old one. I'll be at the gala, Helen says. I'll sit in the back. I won't say a word until it's time. I nod. My throat is tight. Your grandmother held on for 3 more years after I filed that counter petition, Helen says. She used to talk about you, said you were the one in the family who got out. She reaches across the table and squeezes my hand. Nathan sounds like he was a good man. He was. Then don't let them take what he built for you. I drive back to Ridgewood with the windows up and the radio off, turning Helen's words over like stones. James meets with Reverend Thomas Harris on Thursday morning. I'm not there. I can't be, not without tipping off my parents. But James calls me afterward from his car. He's in, James says. Reverend Harris is 58, ordained for 30 years, and the kind of man who shakes your hand with both of his. He's led Ridgewood Community Church since before Gerald became treasurer. He's also a former auditor for the Episcopal Diocese, which means he reads financial statements the way most people read menus. James showed him Maggie's preliminary numbers, the $47,200 discrepancy, the 47 transactions, the routing to Gerald's personal account. He didn't say a word for 2 full minutes, James tells me. Then he said, 12 years I trusted that man. Harris convened an emergency session of the church board, 4 members, closed door, confidential. They reviewed the numbers. They called Maggie directly, and they made a decision. At the annual gala, instead of Gerald's usual treasurer's report, Maggie will present the certified independent audit. It will be framed as a routine transparency initiative, something the board has been planning for months. Gerald won't suspect a thing because there's always a financial segment at the gala. This year, someone else is delivering it. Harris said something else, James adds. He said he wants Faye there, front and center. He said, if Gerald's family knew what he was doing, they deserved to hear the truth first. If they didn't know, they still deserve to hear it. I stand in the Glendale Library parking lot, phone pressed to my ear, and feel the ground shift under me. 3 days from now, my father will stand in front of his community and give a speech about trust, and the truth will be sitting 2 rows behind him. Patricia finds out about Helen on Friday. Mrs. Carroll, who else, spotted Helen at the coffee shop on Route 9 and reported back within the hour. Patricia is waiting in the kitchen when I come downstairs. "Did you contact Helen?" She doesn't ask it. She states it, like a prosecutor entering evidence. "She saw Nathan's obituary on Facebook," I say. "She reached out. I didn't invite her." "You know she's not welcome in this family. She tried to destroy us before." "She asked how I was doing, that's all." Patricia's jaw tightens. "If Helen shows up at the gala, I will make a scene. She is not family anymore." Gerald appears in the doorway, coffee mug suspended. "Why is Helen here? What does she want?" Patricia turns to him with the calm, measured voice I've heard her use on church committees and school boards and anyone who needs to be managed. "She doesn't know anything. She's just here to stir trouble like she always does." But I can see it. The flicker behind Patricia's eyes. She's rattled. Helen is the one person who's beaten her before, and now Helen is 6 miles away. For the rest of the day, Patricia shadows me. She appears in doorways. She checks my phone when I leave it on the counter to pour coffee, but I've locked it with Face ID, and she can't get past the screen. She offers to organize my suitcase. She suggests I rest in the living room where she can see me. She's scared. The question is whether she's scared enough to do something reckless before Sunday. "Helen always wanted to tear this family apart," Patricia says at dinner, to no one in particular. "Don't let her get in your head." I eat my chicken. I say nothing. 2 more days, Saturday night. The gala is tomorrow. Maggie emails the final report to James at 7:42 p.m., 41 pages. 47 flagged transactions over 36 months. Every dollar traced from the church's donation account to Gerald's personal checking account. Total, $47,200. James texts me. "Report is certified. Harris has briefed the board. Maggie will present at 7:30 after Gerald's welcome remarks. Everything is set." I text Helen. "Be there at 7, sit in the back. Don't talk to Patricia until it's time." Helen. "I've waited 8 years for this. I'll be there at 6:30. I go downstairs. Patricia is in the living room, ironing Gerald's shirt for tomorrow. A blue Oxford, his church best. "Your father is giving the treasurer's report at the gala," she says. "The whole town will be there. He's been rehearsing all week." She holds up the shirt, inspects the collar. "He's so proud." "I'll be there too." Her face brightens. "That's wonderful, sweetheart. It'll be good for you to get out." I watch her press the iron over the cuffs. She's pressing her husband's shirt for the night his life unravels, and she has no idea. Part of me wants to feel something about that. Pity, maybe. Or guilt. I go back upstairs. I sit on the bed. I read Nathan's letter one more time. "Don't trust anyone who wasn't at my funeral." James wasn't invited to the funeral, but he was there. Maggie never met Nathan, but she's fighting for what he built. Helen was erased from this family 8 years ago, but she drove 3 hours to stand in the back of a church hall for me. Tomorrow, my father will stand in front of his community and lie, and the truth will be sitting right behind him. I sat in my old bedroom that night and read Nathan's letter for the 10th time. He knew. He knew what they would try. And he built a wall around me anyway, from a place I can't reach anymore. If you've ever had someone love you enough to protect you even after they're gone, then you understand why I couldn't waste what he gave me. We just crossed 200,000 subscribers. Every single one of you matters. If this story deserves a share, send it to someone who needs to hear it tonight. Because what happened at the gala the next evening, even I didn't see all of it coming. Ridgewood Community Church Fellowship Hall, Sunday evening, 7 o'clock. 120 people in folding chairs around circular tables covered in white cloth, mason jars with wildflowers, a banner across the stage, Building Together, annual community fundraiser. Gerald walks to the podium in the blue Oxford shirt Patricia ironed last night. He adjusts the microphone. He smiles. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. Applause. Warm, familiar, automatic. Gerald Hobbs has stood at this podium every September for 12 years. He's as much a part of this gala as the chicken dinner and the silent auction. Patricia sits front row center. Chloe is beside her, Ryan on Chloe's other side. I'm at a table near the middle of the room. Helen is in the back, corduroy jacket, hands folded in her lap. James stands near the side exit. Maggie sits 2 seats from Reverend Harris at the board table. Gerald taps his notes. This church has always been built on trust, and I'm honored to have served as your treasurer for 12 years. We've had a strong year. Donations are up, programs are funded, every dollar accounted for. He clicks to a slide, his slide, the one he prepared, with adjusted numbers and rounded totals. Every cent in service of this community. More applause. Mrs. Carroll beams. Mr. Dalton nods. Gerald finishes with a flourish. Thank you for your trust. It means the world to me and my family. He steps back. Reverend Harris stands. Thank you, Gerald. Wonderful report, as always. Harris buttons his jacket. And now, as part of our ongoing commitment to transparency, the board has arranged an independent financial review of our accounts. I'd like to introduce Margaret Kessler. Gerald's smile falters. Patricia sits up straighter. Maggie stands, smooths her blazer, and walks to the podium. Maggie connects her laptop to the projector. The church's financial data fills the screen. Real numbers this time. Good evening. My name is Margaret Kessler. I'm a certified forensic accountant, retained by the church board, to conduct an independent review of Ridgewood Community Church's financial records for the past 3 fiscal years. She clicks to the first slide. 2 columns. Left, Form 990, Public Filings, showing total donations received. Right, internal reports Gerald submitted to the board. Over the past 36 months, this church received approximately $180,000 in donations. However, the treasurer's internal reports account for only $133,000 in expenditures and fund balances. That leaves a discrepancy of $47,200. The room goes silent. Forks stop moving. Glasses pause mid-lift. Maggie clicks again. A spreadsheet of 47 transactions, each highlighted in yellow. These are 47 individual transfers, ranging from $500 to $2,000 each, routed from the church's primary donation account to a personal banking account. She lets the number sit. Then, the account holder's name matches the church's current honorary treasurer. 120 heads turn toward Gerald. He's standing beside the stage, one hand on the curtain. His face has gone white. Patricia is on her feet. This is ridiculous. Gerald would never... Maggie doesn't flinch. Ma'am, these are public tax filings compared with bank records obtained through legal channels. The numbers speak for themselves. Whispers ripple through the hall. Mrs. Carroll covers her mouth. Mr. Dalton stares at his plate. Gerald steps forward. There must be a mistake. I can explain. Reverend Harris raises his hand. Gerald, I think it's best you step aside while we conduct a full investigation. The applause that greeted Gerald 5 minutes ago is gone. The room sounds like a held breath. Patricia turns. She scans the room until she finds me. You. She crosses the center aisle, heels clicking on linoleum. You did this. You brought these people here to destroy your own father. 120 people are watching. I stand up. No, Mom. I brought the truth. My voice is steady. I've rehearsed this in my head for 10 days, but now that it's happening, I don't need the rehearsal. You were the ones who tried to have me declared mentally incompetent so you could steal my husband's estate. Gasps. Actual, audible gasps from the tables nearest us. Patricia's face flashes through 3 expressions in 2 seconds. Shock, fury, calculation. She lands on performance. She's lying. She's been unstable since Nathan died. Ask anyone. I have recordings, Mom. I say it evenly, quietly. I have emails. I have testimony from your own sister about what you did to Grandma Dorothy 8 years ago. From the back row, Helen stands, 62 years old, steady as a stone wall. It's true, she says. She tried it with our mother. Guardianship, financial control, the same doctor trick. Helen's voice carries across the silent room. I stopped her then. Faye is stopping her now. Patricia looks at Helen, then at me, then at the room full of people she spent decades cultivating, charming, performing for. Not one of them moves toward her. Gerald sinks into a chair. His head drops. James walks to Gerald and hands him an envelope. This is formal notification that Nathan Terrell's estate is held in an irrevocable trust. No guardianship, no court order, and no family petition can alter its terms. I look at my mother. I didn't come here for revenge. You gave me no choice. That ends tonight. Patricia opens her mouth. Nothing comes out. The room is still processing when Chloe grabs Ryan's arm. Let's go, she hisses. This is all lies. My sister is having a breakdown. Ryan doesn't move. He's been sitting 3 feet from me for the past 5 minutes, and he heard every word. The audit, the guardianship petition, the recordings, his fiancé's name attached to all of it. Is it true? He says. Not loud, not angry, just clear. Ryan, come on. Is it true, Chloe? The debt, the guardianship plan, the wedding budget. It's not what it sounds like. You told me your family was close. Ryan pulls his arm free. You told me Faye was okay with helping pay for the wedding. You told me your parents were good people. They are good people. Your father just got caught stealing from a church. Ryan stares at her. And you were going to pay for our wedding with money you took from your grieving sister. Chloe's eyes are wet. She reaches for his hand. He steps back. I watch Ryan slide the engagement ring off his finger. He holds it for a moment. A simple platinum band, the one Chloe showed off on every social media platform for 6 months, and sets it on the table, gently. No throw, no scene. Just a man putting something down he can't carry anymore. I was going to marry someone who doesn't exist, he says. He walks out the side door. Chloe turns to Patricia, tears streaking her mascara, desperate for rescue. But Patricia is surrounded, Reverend Harris on one side, Mrs. Carroll on the other, both talking at once. For the first time in her life, Chloe reaches for her mother and finds no one reaching back. The ring sits on the table, catching the overhead light. Reverend Harris takes the microphone. I want to thank everyone for their patience tonight. His voice is measured, pastoral, the voice he uses for funerals and difficult sermons. The church board will be launching a full investigation into the financial discrepancies presented this evening. Gerald Hobbs has been relieved of his duties as honorary treasurer, effective immediately. We will cooperate fully with the appropriate authorities. The room absorbs this like a blow to the chest. 12 years of Gerald's name on the sign outside, 12 years of handshakes and Christmas fund drives and community trust, dissolved in a single paragraph. A few people glance at me, not with pity this time. Something else. Respect, maybe. Or the uncomfortable recognition that they believed the wrong person for a very long time. Mrs. Carroll finds me near the coffee table. Her eyes are red. I'm sorry, Faye. I believed everything your mother told me. She presses my hand. I should have asked you how you were doing, not her. Gerald hasn't moved from the chair near the stage. He sits with his hands between his knees, staring at the floor. Patricia tried to leave through the main entrance, but a young woman from the Ridgewood Gazette, a journalism student, barely 22, caught her in the foyer with a notepad and a question Patricia couldn't dodge. James finds me by the side door. The DA's office will want to see Maggie's report, he says. Embezzlement from a nonprofit is a Class E felony in New York. They'll open a case. What about Voss? I'm filing a formal complaint with the state medical board tomorrow morning. 2 prior complaints plus this. His license is done. I nod. My hands are steady. My chest feels hollow but light, like something enormous just left. James files the complaint against Dr. Raymond Voss with the New York State Office of Professional Medical Conduct on Monday morning. The packet is thorough. My audio recordings, Voss coaching Patricia on how to frame a 72-hour evaluation. The guardianship petition he prepared with Faye Terrell's name already typed in. Chloe's email confirming Voss was coordinating with the family. And the detail that seals it. Voss has 2 prior ethics complaints on file, both for inappropriate dual relationships with patients connected to personal acquaintances. With this evidence, James tells me over the phone, he's looking at license suspension at minimum. If the DA finds enough for conspiracy charges, it goes criminal. I'm back in Manhattan by then, sitting in the Chelsea loft, morning light coming through the tall windows Nathan loved. The city hums beneath me. Cabs, construction, someone's dog barking 3 floors down. It sounds like home. James adds, I've also sent copies of everything to your personal attorney as a precaution. If Patricia tries to retaliate with a defamation claim or a counterpetition, you're covered. That afternoon, Gerald's phone rings at the house in Ridgewood. It's Voss. James's paralegal confirmed this through a mutual contact. Voss is panicking. What did you get me into, Gerald? I could lose my license. I could face charges. Gerald doesn't answer. According to Patricia, who called Chloe, who mentioned it to Ryan before he blocked her number, who then texted me unprompted, Gerald has barely spoken since Sunday night. He sits in his recliner. He doesn't eat. He doesn't watch television. He stares at the wall where his church service award used to hang. Patricia took it down Monday morning, before the neighbors could see. The alliance is crumbling, and nobody is reaching for the pieces. The call comes on Tuesday evening. Patricia. I almost let it ring. Then I pick up, because this is the last time and I know it. You've destroyed this family. Her voice is hoarse. Whether from crying or from shouting, I can't tell. Your father could go to prison. Is that what you want? Dad destroyed this family when he stole from the church. You destroyed it when you planned to steal from me. Silence. Then the shift. I've heard it 1,000 times. The pivot from attack to performance. I'm your mother, Faye. Softer now, wounded. Everything I did was because I love you. Every decision, every sacrifice. You don't understand what it costs to raise 2 children. You weren't at Nathan's funeral, Mom. And keep a family together when money is tight and your husband. You weren't at Nathan's funeral. I say it again, slower. You were in this kitchen, with Dad, with a psychiatrist you hired to take away my rights, while my husband's body was still warm. Nothing. That's not love. That's not sacrifice. That's a plan. I hear her breathing, quick, shallow. I wait. Faye. Her voice drops to a whisper. Please, I'm your mother. And I'm your daughter. But you treated me like an account to be managed, not a person to be loved. And I'm done. More silence. I let it stretch. I've spent 31 years filling Patricia's silences with excuses, apologies, accommodations. I'm finished filling them with anything. I'm going back to Manhattan, I say. Don't contact me unless it's through a lawyer. I hang up. My hand is steady. My chest aches, but it's the ache of a bone resetting, not breaking. There's a difference. I used to think love meant enduring. Now I know it means choosing yourself when no one else will. Wednesday morning. I pack my suitcase in the room I grew up in for the last time. I fold clothes. I zip compartments. I check the nightstand drawer. Empty. I check the closet. Bare. Then I look at the wall. The Columbia graduation photo is still there. 4 inches by 6 inches, 1 rusting pushpin. I took that picture on a bright May afternoon, alone, holding the camera at arm's length because nobody came to the ceremony. I mailed a copy to Patricia. She tacked it here and never mentioned it again. I pull the pushpin out and slide the photo into my bag. Downstairs, the house is quiet. Gerald's recliner is empty. Patricia's coffee mug sits unwashed in the sink. I don't know where they are, and for the first time in my life, I don't need to. I lock the front door with the spare key and leave it under the mat. The drive out of Ridgewood takes me past the church. I slow down without meaning to. The wooden sign by the road has been updated. Gerald's name is gone. The gold letters have been scraped off, leaving a pale rectangle where 12 years of false trust used to be. I merge onto the highway, 2.5 hours to Manhattan. The drive feels shorter than it did 2 weeks ago, maybe because this time I'm driving towards something instead of away. The loft is quiet when I get home, sun through the tall windows, Nathan's drafting table in the corner, still covered in paper cranes. On the kitchen counter, flowers from Maggie, white peonies, no card needed, an envelope from James. Nathan would be proud. And a text from Ryan Alcott. I'm sorry for what my ex-fiancé's family did to you. Thank you for the truth. I set my bag down. I'm home. 3 months pass. Here is what happens. Gerald pleads guilty to embezzlement from a non-profit organization, a Class E felony under New York law. His attorney negotiates full restitution of $47,200 to the church in exchange for a reduced sentence. The judge grants 3 years of probation and 200 hours of community service. Gerald Hobbs, honorary treasurer for 12 years, now picks up litter on the county highway every Saturday morning. Dr. Raymond Voss's medical license is permanently revoked by the New York State Office of Professional Medical Conduct. The board cites a pattern of inappropriate dual relationships and willful participation in a fraudulent competency evaluation. The DA's office opens a separate investigation into conspiracy to commit fraud. Voss hires a criminal defense attorney. His practice closes. Patricia is not charged. There isn't enough direct evidence to prove criminal conspiracy. She never signed the guardianship petition, and her name isn't on any financial documents. But she loses something the law can't restore. The neighbors stop calling. The church removes her from every committee. Mrs. Carroll, who once called her a saint, crosses the street when she sees Patricia coming. In a town of 8,000, social death is its own sentence. Chloe moves back to Ridgewood. The engagement is over. Ryan blocked her number, returned her belongings in a box, and told their mutual friends exactly why. She owes $32,000 in credit card debt, with no one left to bail her out. I get promoted to associate director at the museum. I use part of Nathan's estate to establish the Nathan Terrell Memorial Scholarship for emerging artists, first-generation college students who don't have anyone coming to their graduation. The money didn't change my life. What Nathan saw in me, what he trusted me to protect, that changed everything. James calls me on a Friday afternoon in December. Nathan left one more thing, he says. He asked me to give it to you 3 months after everything's settled. I drive to James's office in Glendale. He's waiting at the door, same as the first time, except now he's almost smiling. He hands me a sealed envelope. Same handwriting, same blue ink. Nathan always used blue ink because he said black felt too serious for someone who folded paper cranes for fun. I open it in the car. I can't wait. I sit in the parking lot with the engine off and the heater running and I read. Faye, if you're reading this, it means you made it through. I'm sorry I couldn't be there. I'm sorry for every morning you had to wake up and figure things out alone. But I need you to know something. The day I married you was the day I finally understood what courage looks like. It wasn't me. It wasn't the houses, or the money, or the plans I made with James. It was you, walking into Columbia with nobody behind you, building a career nobody handed you, loving me even when I worked too late and forgot to call. You are the bravest person I've ever known. And you don't need anyone's permission to believe that. Not mine, not theirs. Go be extraordinary. You already are. Nathan. I sit in that parking lot for a long time. The sun goes down. The streetlights come on. I read the letter twice more, then fold it carefully and slide it into the bag beside my Columbia graduation photo. 2 small things, the smallest things I own, worth more than 6 Manhattan lofts, and every dollar in every account that carries my name. January. The museum opens a new exhibition, Resilience in Art, Works of Survival and Transformation. I curated it. My name is on the placard by the entrance. Opening night. The gallery is full. Critics, donors, artists, college students who got in free because that's how Nathan would have wanted it. Helen is in the front row. She drove 3 hours to be here, same as she drove 3 hours to sit in the back of a church hall in Ridgewood. James is near the wine table, talking to Maggie about nonprofit tax reform, which is apparently what forensic accountants discuss for fun. I stand at the podium and talk about the exhibition, about art made by people who lost everything and created anyway, about survival as a creative act, about how the most powerful thing a person can do is decide that their own story isn't over. I don't mention my family. I don't need to. Everyone in this room who matters already knows. Afterward, my phone buzzes. A text from Patricia. I miss you. I read it. 2 words. 6 letters. I put the phone back in my pocket. I don't reply. Then I walk back into the gallery, where Helen is examining a sculpture and James is laughing at something Maggie said. And I think about the woman I was 2 weeks after Nathan's funeral, standing on a porch in Ridgewood, shaking, pressing record on her phone, with no plan and no allies and no certainty that anything would work. She figured it out. I figured it out. Some families are built by blood. Mine was built by the people who showed up when it mattered. On my desk at the museum, beside the nameplate that reads Associate Director, there's a 4x6 graduation photo and 2 folded letters in blue ink. They're the only inheritance I'll ever need. That's my story. I didn't plan to stand in front of my father's church and lay out 12 years of stolen money. I didn't plan to lose my family the same month I lost my husband. But I learned something Nathan tried to tell me all along. The people who love you don't need you to be small so they can feel big. If this story meant something to you, leave a comment. Tell me, what's the one boundary you wish you'd set sooner? And if you want more stories like this one, check the description. I've picked a few I think you'll connect with. Thank you for staying until the end. It means more than you know.